Sorry to interrupt you there, but last week I asked you about the Mini Electric, and you were interested in it.
I was interested, yes.
You were? Ish.
Yeah.
You're on the fence because you love your BMW i3.
Oh, I don't want one, no. But
Fine. Well, I've been driven it, and I put together a little video to try and convince you that you want to chop your i3 in for one. I'm not sure if it'll be successful, but have a watch and see what you think.
If you're the sort of person that wants to swap their second car for an EV, then 2020 is shaping up to be a pretty decent year. We've already had the Honda E, the Volkswagen ID3 is just around the corner, and this, the Mini Electric, is finally here. It's a Mini and it's electric, which is a good idea because it's already a good city car. But James May doesn't think this car is going to be that good because he says it hasn't got enough range for getting out the city and into the countryside. So I want to find out if we can persuade him out of his BMW i3 and into a Mini Electric. And more importantly, Mini says this has the same performance as a Coupe S, which is a hot hatch. So is this, the Mini Electric, actually the first all-electric hot hatch? I want to find out. I also want to go somewhere warm because it's freezing and windy. I'm sorry, James, but the interior of your BMW i3 has got nothing on the interior of this Mini. It's like comparing a Turkish prison with this, which is Disneyland. It's just full of joy and happiness. Everything is colourful, everything is fun to touch, like the start-stop button. You could press that for hours. I don't know, it's just wonderfully designed in here. Everything's really well built. It's a very pleasant place to be, and that's basically the biggest motoring cliche in the world. I'm sorry, but it's kind of true here. You get the Mini Electric in 3 versions, the 1, the 2, the 3. I think their marketing department took a day off when they did that. But who cares? They all get sat-nav, they all get cruise control and Apple CarPlay. This, the 2, doesn't get the biggest sat-nav screen, but they all get this digital dashboard, which is super clear, unless it's sunny, in which case it's a bit glary and reflecty. But it's standard Mini in here, and to be honest, that's really good. A really cool thing about the Mini Electric's infotainment system is this green circle, which will show you how far you can go on your current charge. Think of it as the Storm in Fortnite or PUBG if you're not a 2-year-old. Well, it certainly looks like a Mini Cooper S, so that's the hot hatch looks box ticked. This vent though, it is fake. I guess because they've junked the engine, there's just an electric motor under there, it doesn't need as much cooling. And also you can tell it's the electric version because it's covered in more yellow than a jaundiced giraffe. It is all optional, so you can just make it look like a normal car, but Mini buyers think looks are important. Ask anyone who owns a Mini why they bought it, and I guarantee you they'll say, because it looks really cool. Personally, I think the Skoda Superb looks cool, so what do I know about looks? But I like it. From the side, it's classic 3-door Mini. Apart from the wheels, which were inspired by a UK 3-pin plug, I presume to drive on the continent we'll need an adapter or different colour passports, but let's not get into that. And instead of a petrol flap, you have an electricity flap. It's also about yay much taller than a normal Mini, but I don't think anyone's going to notice unless they're an absolute nerd. Under the bonnet you'll find this, a 32.6 kilowatt electric motor, which, if you look at it, you'll notice has 184 horsepower and 270 newton meters of torque. That's actually a bit less torque than the petrol Cooper S, so on paper it's not that hot hatchy, but as we all know, numbers on paper don't mean much when it comes to driving performance. It will do about 124 miles on a full charge, and it's from the BMW i3, so it's good, it's reliable, and they've done millions of miles in them and it won't break. At the back you get Mini standard LED taillights, which have got a Union flag design to remind you where it's built. You don't get an exhaust pipe because it's electric and you don't need one. And you get Mini's slightly weird electricity badge, which looks like someone stabbed Pac-Man in the face with a fork. You also get a 211 litre boot, which isn't huge, but it's 50 litres up on what you get in the Honda E, but that's literally the same boot space you get in every other 3-door Mini. That's what you need to know about the back of the Mini Electric. Isn't it fascinating? Whee! It's quite fast. When BMW took over Mini back in the early noughties, they made it their mission to give every car go-kart handling, which, let's be honest, means that your parts jiggle around a bit more. So if my man breasts are a bit more hypnotic than usual, I apologise. The Mini Electric feels just like every other Mini. It's got direct steering, so you can make your passengers feel sick. It doesn't roll much in corners, but the ride is a bit firmer than in the petrol one. I think it's probably because the batteries are an extra 250 kilos, so they make the suspension work a bit harder. On the plus side though, it does a bit of lift-off oversteer, like a proper hot hatch. On these kind of slightly greasy roads, you brake into a corner and it moves around a bit. I wasn't expecting that. We just had an interesting chat from a German engineer who worked on this car that said the batteries actually help shift the weight towards the back of the car, so you've got 50-50 split in the weight distribution. And yet, when you brake into a corner going quickly, it's not completely tied down, which is fun. It is fun to drive, and you do get a bit of, woo, I'm being a bit of a hero, which you don't get in most electric cars. So yeah, I'm starting to be convinced that this could be an electric hot hatch. So yeah, James May, I think this is a lot more fun to drive than your i3. So now remember, I'm trying to convince James to swap his BMW i3 for one of these mini electrics. So we're going to play a little game where I see if I can guess what he will and won't like about it. We could call it May Your Cars Right. It's a terrible name, but we're going with it because I'm really cold and that's quite noisy. Starting on the outside, I don't think he'll like the looks. I think James will say something like car design should be progressive and not retro. He even said that about his own Alpine A110, so I don't think he will like the look of this. Am I right?
Yes, you're right.
I'm not sure James is going to like these Union flag tail lights either. They're quite divisive and I just don't reckon it's his cup of tea. What do we reckon?
Yeah, they're a bit farage.
I'm not sure he'll like the colour either. He'll probably say it's a bit too drab. Obviously, other colours are available, but this is a man who's talked about wrapping his Tesla Model S in like some lurid orange or green. Am I right?
That is an awful colour. I mean, it looks like it fell off the production line just after the primer had been put on. What a waste.
One thing I don't think James will really like about this Mini is the overhead switches up here. I think they're designed to make you feel like a pilot, and it works for me, but he's an actual pilot, so he's not going to think that's particularly cool. He's going to think it's a bit chintzy. I quite like going along thinking, oh, flaps down 15 degrees, planes, nerds.
Of course I like overhead switches. Everybody likes overhead switches, and everybody likes being able to change the colour inside the car, because that's like being an interior designer. That's rubbish, roadie.
One thing I think James will really like about this car is something that Mini's done with the traction control, which is actually really quite clever. Normally traction control works by using various sensors around the car and it pings a signal around, which means there's a bit of a delay between the wheel spinning and it cutting the power. And you know how it feels in a petrol car when you spin the front wheels up, you get that like you're being electrocuted. In this, they built that right into the motor itself, so the motor actually knows when the front wheels are spinning before you do, and it can smoothly cut the power. They've shortened the signal path, so it's kind of the car effect of cutting your hands off and sellotaping them to your head. Think how quickly you could wiggle your fingers if there weren't your arms in the way. It's kind of like that.
What, seriously, a shorter path for something that travels pretty much at the speed of light? I can't see that makes a huge amount of difference, to be honest. That sounds like PR bullshit. So how did I do in our first round of May Your Cars Right? I don't know actually, because we've not edited it in yet. So how did I do in May Your Cars Right? I don't know really, but whatever. It's time to get out there, it's a bit windy. So there you have it, the Mini Electric. Should James May trade his i3 for one? Yeah, it looks better, it handles better, and it's got way more of a feel-good factor. Is it an electric hot hatch though? Well, yes. I'm quite surprised. We came here today and had a lot of fun slithering around on country roads like we're in a Fiesta ST. It's good. It's just a bit expensive. It's 24 grand for the basic one, 30 grand for the top spec one, but if you can afford it, I'd get one. Thank you for watching.
So James, how did I do? Have I convinced you out of your BMW i3 and into a funky, youthful Mini Electric?
Is it youthful, the Mini?
Yeah.
No, I think it's for old
Makes me feel
people.
young.
Does it? So I think it's for old people who wish they were still in the 60s and think they were Twiggy or Peter Sellers or whatever. I'm not convinced it's actually youthful. I think the i3 is more youthful because it's more contemporary, it's more forward-looking, it's not hung up on the past. That's what annoys me about retro styling. I don't know why they made cars that are technically modern. I mean, this is now electric. They've been saying they'll do an electric one for a long time. The Alpine is very on message, low weight, low size, small power, downsized, but great handling, great feel. They did all that, and then they dressed it up like something from the 60s, as if acknowledging that people can't move on. And I do find that a little bit annoying.
So is the upshot of this ultimately that instead of getting a Mini Electric, you're going to sell your Alpine?
No, because the thing is, the Alpine is, I can just about forgive the Alpine its looks because it is such a fabulous drive, and that's my swan song internal combustion car, if you like. It's probably the last one I will sell of the ones I currently have. Electric cars, I love them. I love the sensation of electric driving, but the Mini it's like it doesn't really want to do it. It wants to be a Mini. I know Minis are great. I mean, Minis are great fun to drive. They're nice cars, they're well made, they're well priced, they're fabulously equipped, blah, 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 blah. But they've got hang-ups. I don't like hang-ups. Also, what's the range?
It's 145 miles.
Is that a theoretical?
That's the WLTP European not meant to lie about it range.
So it's probably about 115, 120.
Probably.
I mean, my BMW, which has got quite a few similar mechanical bits and, electrical bits underneath, in reality it's about 120, driving it carefully. I just think, despite being an advocate of the electric future, I think electric cars are heading for a massive problem, because whichever way you cut it, the problem is still the batteries. They're a lot better than they were. When Sir Clive Sinclair tried to make his little electric car and he had to put lead acid batteries in. We've now got lithium ion, and it's amazing, but it's still not good enough because they're too heavy, the range isn't big enough, and they do take too long to charge. And the argument is always, oh, well, you charge overnight and most people only drive 8 miles a day. Yes, but then you want to go to Scotland from London or to Wales from Ireland, and you're shafted.
But it's probably your second car, though, isn't it? Let's be honest.
Well, so electric cars are increasing the number of cars in the world, which is not a good thing.
No, that's a fair point. I think
you could.
This.
Well, yeah, okay. But I mean, my Tesla is the longest range electric car you can currently buy, the 100D long range. And, I drive it between my two houses, first world problem, I know. And I can charge it up overnight in my garage because I have a garage because I'm very lucky, blah, blah, blah. Yes, that argument stands. But over Christmas, I went to see Tom, the director, and then I went on somewhere else and then somewhere else. I couldn't really charge it properly at Tom's house because he doesn't have an electric car charger. Plugged into his main socket, it charged at the rate of about 5 or 6 miles an hour. So even overnight didn't top it up very much. And then you start planning your journey via superchargers and there just aren't enough of them. So the range actually becomes a little bit irrelevant because it's actually how far you are from the next supercharger. And if you go on a normal charger, it takes hours and hours and hours to charge it up. So then, okay, you build a car with a massive range and a huge battery. You can go for 1,000 miles, say, but the battery will be very heavy, and then it takes even longer to charge up. The batteries have to improve. Until electric cars can charge in a few minutes, we're going to be a bit shafted. And, at the moment, electric cars are a club. It's a great club. It's fantastic fun to be in, but if lots of people start buying them, I think we're going to have huge problems.
I think that's a no.
It's a bit of a no, but it's a qualified no. Like, subscribe, comment. And please be nice to Tim in the comments if you make a comment. He's new, he's young. Just because you don't actually know him and he's just online doesn't mean you can bully him and be nasty. You wouldn't do that in a pub. You wouldn't go into the pub and say those sort of things because you'd worry that someone would punch your face in. Well, treat the internet in the same way. It's like a pub. You wouldn't go up to Tim I wouldn't go up to him and say, hey, Tim, that was shit, because he might smack me one. So I wouldn't do it. So don't do it online, okay? Like, subscribe, comment, be nice.